I believe this stock has the potential to be the next Palantir. I talked about it in April of last year. After that, the stock went up 300%, but it has recently had a very sharp drawdown, and I'm starting to buy the stock again. So I'd love to talk about it, but it's a very hated name. So a lot of you guys, whenever you hear of the name, you're gonna skip the video. But I believe we should be open-minded as investors in general, and maybe the name is hated, maybe you have feelings around it, but I would, recommend watching the video and looking at the numbers and try to judge it as an investment and not much about what they really did in the past. So I really hope you enjoy it as always. And this stock is Robinhood. Robinhood is down 33% year to date. I trimmed some of the stock for a 255% profit. I recently started buying it again at about $70 per share. Many people remember Robinhood from what happened in 2021, 2022, and they have that recency bias without looking at the current financials and trying to look at what Robinhood has become and what could potentially become over the next 5, 10, or 15 years. Now, if you look at Robinhood, Robinhood has about 27 million funded customers on their account. 27 million people, and they increased 1.7 million people year over year. Now, what's really important about it is even though they have 27 million people, they're very soon going to have exposure to additional 60 million people because they won the contract to create the Trump account for investment for a lot of the newborns in the United States. Everyone that's born in the United States, they're going to get a $1,000 account that's made by Robinhood. So those people, around 60 million people, they're going to get exposure to Robinhood. They're going to be more and more familiar with Robinhood. And maybe they can't really monetize a lot of them whenever they're just born or they're really young. But over time, they might be more aligned to do something with Robinhood. It's simple. They know it. They used it. They could sign up for a Robinhood credit card when they get older, get a Robinhood loan, Robinhood checking or saving account, Robinhood investment account, Robinhood retirement account, so many different things. So again, if you really think about Robinhood, and especially now, in terms of the exposure to 60 million people, I mean, I think they own the future of finance, and I don't think that's really priced in the company. Now, if you look at how Robinhood has been diversifying from just trading, it's been going really, really well. Like retirement accounts, it's been growing like 50% year over year, and an average account is up like 90%. And retirement account is really good for Robinhood because it brings them more like recurring flows or recurring revenues as people contribute to their account every single year, and then that just brings in regular, like almost a subscription-like revenues for Robinhood. Now, Robinhood has also been expanding in other areas, again, much more stable than crypto trading and options trading. One of them was the popular Robinhood Gold card. I have the Gold card. It's a pretty amazing card, and it's up 4x year over year, 25% quarter on quarter, and people are only complaining that they're still on the wait list. They're not complaining about the card. No one's complaining about the card. They're complaining that either the limit is too low or that they don't even have access to the card yet. So that really tells you how strong the product is. Same thing with Robinhood Banking, and I also have Robinhood Banking. They're pretty much bringing private banking kind of experience to the regular individuals, giving you cash delivery to your door and all kind of things. It's a really beautiful app. I have the app, and this one's been growing like crazy. They just launched it not long ago. And then I have Robinhood Strategies, which is like an, I believe, AI related investment, and they invest it for you and run it for you for little to no fees. And that could disrupt the advisory business over the long term as people get control of their own finances. So if you look at how Robinhood is expanding credit cards, banking, strategy, retirement, they're creating an ecosystem where if you are in the Robinhood ecosystem, it's really hard to leave it for an app that, let's say, Elon Musk creates within X, or maybe something that Mr. Beats creates, or something like maybe even SoFi, which I own the stock. If you are in the Robinhood ecosystem, you have the Robinhood card, Robinhood IRA, it's really hard to exit the ecosystem, and you don't have to exit the ecosystem. So it's a really, really beautiful a product, and it's diversifying them away from just trading in general. And the best part about it is they have all these things like the Robinhood card, Robinhood banking, Robinhood home loans, but they have little to no balance sheet risk. The only balance sheet risk they have is through margin, because all those banking stuff is a kind of partnership with a third party bank. The third party bank is getting the risk, and Robinhood owns the platform. So again, it's a really efficient, really beautiful business model. Now, the best part about it all is everyone knows Robinhood. Robinhood has 27 million people, but if you look at the market share of equity trading, it's only 1%. So Robinhood only has a 1% share. If they double it to 2%, this is a 100% increase in equity revenues. This is crazy. Options, Robinhood is known for options. Their market share is only 7.5%. 7.5% is nothing. Even crypto, their market share is only 1%, 1.2%. So if you look at the runways of this business over the long term, it's absolutely crazy. I thought Robinhood would have a 10% share or 15% share. Only 1%, even in crypto, that's really, really low. And it's really exciting to me. Now I'm going to talk about a few things in terms of the revenue volatility. And this is the main argument around Robinhood, is that if the market goes down or if something happened within crypto, then Robinhood is going to make no money. And I think this is an amazing illustration of that, because Q1 was very volatile. We had a sharp sell-off in crypto. We had a sharp sell-off in some stocks, especially the software stocks, which a lot of retail investors own, like Adobe, ServiceNow, and a lot of them. Despite all this volatility, Robinhood still grew 15% in revenues. Now, if that was Robinhood in 2022, that many of you guys remember, Robinhood would be declining 20-30%. The fact that they grew 15% in revenues throughout this period, to me, shows you that the company is becoming much more diversified. Now, if you look at the crypto revenues, it went from 252 million to 134 million. So it got cut down by 30-40%, and they still grew 15% in revenues. How did they do that? Because they grew other revenues. Other revenues is mainly around, you could say, options, not options trading, but mainly futures trading and prediction markets in general. But futures trading is really good for Robinhood because a lot of the professional traders that bet on futures, they don't only bet on futures when the market's going up, they also bet on futures when the market's going down. They also short stocks when the market goes down, and they play long when the market goes up. So options was very steady, and you had others picked up, which also includes other kind of related revenues. But that was really, really good. And it shows you how the company is diversifying, where you have more professional traders that don't only trade the market when it goes going up, but they also trade the market whenever it's going down. But if you look at the other related revenues, index options was flat, but it's been growing a lot year over year, where you could buy an option right on the index, directly on the index. Then you have futures, which is again for more professional traders. Although a lot of Robinhood guys are messing with, futures on oil, and maybe some days they're going to get an oil delivery to their house or something. It would be a crazy story. There's a lot of jokes around it on X, but it's up 20% quarter on quarter, despite the bear market. So again, people like to short, they trade futures also when the market is going down. I shouldn't say bear market, I should say a sell-off. Event contracts were flat quarter on quarter, but they're up a lot year over year. Now in Q4, we had a lot of sports-related events, and this is again more tied to sports events in general and when the schedule of those events take place. But event contracts, I think is becoming more and more popular. People trade mentions on what Trump is saying and what this one is saying. It's becoming much more popular, especially the younger people love it. And if you want it, you can get it on Robinhood, And if you think of tokenization for the future, like around real assets, tokenizing real estate, tokenizing art, I believe most of it will happen on Robinhood. So again, I believe they really own the future of finance, and they're getting more and more diversified. Now, if you look at the economics of the broker business, it's actually a very efficient business. If you look at Interactive Brokers, it's such a beautiful, beautiful business. And Robinhood is not there yet, but I think they will get there over time. Now, if you look at their expenses, operating expenses, they had 607 million in operating expenses. Out of it, they had 200 million on technology and development. It has nothing to do with running the platform. That's just for growth, for improvement. So technology development, 200 million, 100 million on marketing. The rest is mainly operations, and broker transaction is like only 57 million. So out of the 600 million, 50% of it is pretty much for the company to grow. They could cut back on that tomorrow. Robinhood would still be here, and they would pretty much double their operating margins. So it really tells you you how efficient the company is and how amazing the brokerage business is in general. I really like the business. Now, if we look at the valuation, it's trading at 37 times earnings. 37 times earnings might seem very expensive. And this is kind of what I saw when I bought Robinhood in April at $32. It was trading at like 35 times earnings. And people were saying it's overvalued. But if you look at what the expectations are, the expectations for Robinhood is to only grow 9% in earnings per share in 2026. The company, over the last 3 quarters of 2025, the company grew more than 100% in earnings per share growth. So it's going to go from 100% all the way down to 9% and only 10% in 2027. I'm honestly not sure I believe that, especially if you look at the growth in Robinhood Gold, Robinhood Gold Card in general, and the future contracts and event contracts. There's no way Robinhood will only grow 9% in earnings per share in 2026. And this is what the CEO himself said on the call. He said Q2 is off to a good start in April. So trading volumes for equities and options are on track to be our highest months of the year and actually our second highest months in history. So you could see the sharp rebound from March to April. The market recovered a little bit. All the activity recovered, and Robinhood is putting up their second highest months in history just in April. And you want me to believe that the company will only grow 9%. So I don't believe they will only grow 9%. I would bet on 30-40%, not just for this year, for the next few years. I think the stock at 37 times earnings. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's a bargain, but I don't believe the stock is really expensive at all, especially under $70 per share, which where I like it the most. But I think the stock is fairly valued. I think it could deliver good returns. And I like the CEO and I like the management team in general and their innovation and vision. And I truly believe they own the future of finance. Now, of course, there's some risks in terms of competition. Maybe Mr. Beast comes up with a product that's better than Robinhood. But again, where do 60 million people have their investment account? They're going to have it in Robinhood. So why would they go use Mr. Beast if Robinhood can do something for them? And this is where they have their $1,000, you know? So again, this is a beautiful development. And Robinhood went down on the news because the market is short-term thinking. They're thinking of what they're going to do next quarter or two, but they're not thinking of how impactful those 60 million people, as they could potentially be lifetime customers with a company like Robinhood. So I really like the company. I own the stock, and I'm have a long-term horizon, so 5, 10, 15 years, hopefully, if everything stays on track. So I don't care what happens this quarter, next quarter. I'm in it for the long term, and I share everything I do in real time when I'm buying something, selling something, and this is the link if you're interested. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. It was not financial advice. If you did enjoy it, please press the like button and maybe consider subscribing. So I'll talk to you in another video.